Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of information you've shared with us, articles, research, our own notes, and help you get right to the core of what's most important and interesting.
And today, we're diving into sources about a matchup baseball fans have really been buzzing about. The New York Yankees versus the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, and this isn't just any regular season series, is it? It's a direct rematch of the 2024 World Series.
Exactly. We've got a collection of sources here, articles, bits from video commentary, game recaps, all really zeroing in on the first game of this series, May 30th.
Right. So our mission today is to pull out the essential nuggets from these sources about that specific game, and maybe more importantly, what this rematch really signifies,
Yeah, because it feels like more than just a few games on the schedule. According to these sources we looked at, there's some serious weight attached to this series.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Why exactly is everyone talking about the Yankees and Dodgers facing off again, especially framing it as this big rematch?
Well, it goes directly back to last October, doesn't it? The Dodgers, they clinched the World Series against the Yankees in 5 games.
Right, but it was how they did it, particularly in that final game, that these sources keep bringing up.
That's the key. Game 5. The sources call it a wild win for LA, featuring what one described as a Yankees meltdown for the ages.
A meltdown? They blew a 5-run lead, didn't they, in the 5th inning?
A 5-0 lead turned into 5-5, just like that. The sources use pretty strong language, things like shambolic defensive display, to describe how the Yankees played in that inning.
Ouch. And the sources make it pretty clear this wasn't just water under the bridge over the winter. The Yankees definitely seem to have a chip on their shoulder.
For sure. And part of that seems to be because some Dodgers players, well, the sources say they seem to rub salt in the Yankees' wounds during the offseason.
Oh, really? What kind of comments are we talking about? Did the sources quote them?
They did. There were some pretty pointed remarks. Miguel Rojas apparently called the Yankees' defense lazy. Joe Kelly just said it was a complete mismatch.
Oh, complete mismatch. Right.
And Chris Taylor was even more blunt, saying the Yankees crap down their leg. Pretty direct stuff.
Yeah, that's some serious bulletin board material right there. How did Aaron Boone, the Yankees manager, respond to all that when it came up?
Well, according to the sources, he took a more measured approach.
Yeah.
He basically said, look, they won. That's the bottom line.
Can't argue with that.
Right. But he added, he hoped the Yankees would handle ourselves better if they were ever in the position of winning it all. So you can kind of read between the lines there that sting is still present.
So definitely an undercurrent of, let's say, tension and maybe extra motivation heading into this series. And there's a cool historical net too, right?
Yeah, the sources point this out. It's actually the first time these two huge franchises have had a World Series rematch in consecutive years since way back in 1977 and 78.
77 and 78. And didn't the Yankees win both of those?
They did. So, maybe a little historical omen for Yankee fans there.
Adds another layer. So looking at where both teams were standing right when the series kicked off, what did the sources say about their current form?
Both leading their divisions, no surprise there. Considered two of the absolute top teams in baseball. But the Yankees actually came in with the slightly better record, 35-20.
Compared to the Dodgers.
Dodgers were 34-22. And maybe more telling was the momentum. The Yankees had won 5 straight games, 16 of their last 20, and 7 straight series. They were hot.
And the Dodgers?
A bit more up and down in May. They had gone 13-12 in the month and just 5-7 in their last 12 games right before the series started. So different trajectories coming in.
Okay, now here's where it gets, I think, really fascinating for any baseball fan. This series features arguably the 2 biggest stars in the game right now on the same field, Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani.
Absolutely. The sources dedicate a ton of attention to this. Aaron Judge, just physically imposing, the big man on campus, 6'7", 280 pounds, already a 2-time MVP.
And trying for a third, which is incredibly rare company.
Exactly. Very short list. And his numbers coming into this series were just, unbelievable. Leading the majors in batting average at .391.
.391.
Yeah. Third in homers with 18, leading an OPS at on-base plus slugging number at 1227, which is just staggering.
And that WAR stat, wins above replacement, the sources said he was on pace for the highest since Babe Ruth. That's insane.
It really is generational value. And yet Aaron Boone was quoted saying, "We haven't even seen the best of Judge yet." How is that even possible?
Right. It's mind-boggling. And the commentary and the sources really picked up on that power.
Yeah, they noted, when he can extend those long arms, if a pitcher makes even a small mistake, You're not getting that baseball back.
And we saw that instantly. Game 1, first at bat.
Boom. His 19th home run. A mammoth shot, they called it. Measured at 446 feet.
And the commentary, right away. Mama there, go that man again. Just a perfect example of that power the sources talked about.
But then, not to be outdone, Shohei Ohtani steps up in the bottom half of that same inning.
Unbelievable.
The sources point out, he's trying to join an even shorter list than Judge, aiming for a 4th MVP award. Only Barry Bonds has more than 3.
Just incredible talent. And he led the league in homers coming into the game, right? With 20.
Yep, had 20 entering the game.
Yeah.
And in his first at-bat in Game 1, number 21, smacked it to left center field. An immediate answer to Judge.
Tie game, just like that. 1-1.
Exactly. The commentary was just buzzing, greatness, greatness, MVP swagger. And they made the same point about him as Judge.
Yeah.
Make a mistake, you're not getting that baseball back.
2 absolute titans trading blows right out of the gate.
And what's wild is, that wasn't Ohtani's only big moment. He hit another homer later, his 22nd, in the 6th inning, his 2nd of the night.
And that one was huge in the context of the game, right? It sparked their comeback.
Totally. It cut the Yankees' lead to 2 runs, 5-3, and the commentary noted, even if he didn't get all that baseball, like maybe he didn't hit it perfectly square, his strength and bat speed are just so good he could muscle up another home run.
Just pure power. The sources also mentioned their personal history against each other.
Yeah, a couple of specific moments. Judge homering off Ohtani back when Ohtani was pitching in 2022. And then Judge robbing Ohtani of a homer with a catch in 2023. So there's a real head-to-head history there.
Adds to the drama. Did Ohtani comment after Game 1?
He did, briefly. Said something like, it's a really good start to the game. Overall, really good game. Simple enough. There was also a quick note about his pitching recovery, that he's aiming to face live hitters soon.
Good to hear. It is worth mentioning, though, that Mookie Betts was out for this game, right? Stub toe.
Yeah, that was a shame. It meant we didn't quite get the full triple MVP matchup in each lineup. The Yankees had Judge, Bellinger, and Goldschmidt.
All former MVPs.
Right. And the Dodgers had Ohtani and Freddie Freeman, but no Betts.
Speaking of Freeman, you really can't talk about the Dodgers' success, especially last October without mentioning him. World Series MVP.
Absolutely critical. The sources made sure to remind us of that absolutely legendary walk-off grand slam he hit in Game 1 of the 2024 World Series. First one in history.
Unforgettable moment.
And he homered in the first 4 games of that series, stretching his streak to 6 straight World Series games with a homer. And he did that while battling an ankle injury. They called him Gibsonique, comparing him to Bob Gibson's dominance.
And he's still doing it, right, at 35.
Oh, yeah. Hitting .359 this year coming into this series, 9 homers, second in average only to Judge. He's the active career hits leader, just keeps producing.
And true to form, he came up big against the Yankees again in Game 1.
He did. Hit a massive RBI double in that pivotal 6th inning, scored a run, moved another runner to third, a huge part of that comeback. The sources literally said he bites the Yankees again, always showing up in those big spots.
Some guys just have that clutch gene, I guess. What about Cody Bellinger? He's a former Dodger, former MVP now with the Yankees. What's the story there, according to the sources?
Yeah, interesting dynamic. Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, said nice things about him, but also kind of admitted he hoped Bellinger would struggle against his old team.
Understandably.
But the sources point out that Bellinger's actually hit the Dodgers really well since leaving. Has the highest on-base percentage against them, .466, which is fantastic. To contrast his career fall-off with the Dodgers versus his revived career since, especially with the Cubs last year.
And how'd he do in Game 1?
Reached base with a walk in the first inning, and the sources noted he's been hot lately, hitting .357 over the last couple of weeks.
Another former MVP on that Yankee roster is Paul Goldschmidt.
Right, and he's having a really nice resurgent year himself, hitting .347. Also swinging a hot bat recently, .350 over the last 15 days.
And he contributed in Game 1, too.
Big time. Hit a home run in the 3rd inning that was the Yankees' 4th solo shot already in the game. And he also made a really slick defensive play, an expertly turned double play at first base later on.
So the big names were definitely showing up. Did the sources highlight any other hitters making noise, maybe some less obvious guys?
Yeah, definitely. For the Yankees, Trent Grisham got mentioned 12 homers this year, hitting better than usual, and apparently has a history of hitting Tony Gonsolin well. Austin Wells hit one of those early homers called a sneaky hitter, aggressive. Ben Rice, another power guy with 11 homers, Boone praised his work ethic.
Okay, and on the Dodgers side, beyond the superstars,
Will Smith, the catcher, has an insane .457 on-base percentage, second only to Judge in the whole league. He got a base hit in that big sixth inning. Teoscar Hernandez, their RBI leader, he apparently tormented the Yankees last year, hitting every game against them, including the postseason. Remember his game-tying double in World Series Game 5?
Vaguely, yeah. A lot happened in that game.
Huh, fair enough. He's hitting well now, too. Max Muncy's turned his season around. And then there's Andy Pages.
Pages, right. He had the tying hit.
Exactly. Huge April. Cooled off a bit, but still hitting .3 under the last month. Sources called him an absolute terror lately. He delivered that huge RBI single in the sixth.
Okay, so tons of offense. But if we shift focus a bit, the sources were pretty clear that both teams are dealing with some serious pitching issues, right? Injuries mainly.
Yeah, a major storyline. Both described as having depleted pitching staffs. The Yankees lost Jarrett Cole for the year to Tommy John, though Lewis Gill's coming back.
And the Dodgers.
They're missing a bunch of key guys. Tyler Glasnow, Ruki Sasaki, Blake Snell, plus important relievers like Treinen, Gretterall, Yates, Kopech. It's impacting both teams significantly.
Which puts a lot more pressure on the guys who are available. So game one of the matchup was Max Fried for the Yankees against Tony Gonsolin for the Dodgers.
Right. Max Fried, he's basically been the Yankees' ace this year. Came into the game described as close to unhittable, 1.29 ERA, 7-0 record.
Wow.
And he hadn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of his first 11 starts. First Yankee ever to do that. Known for being super competitive.
But game one didn't go quite as smoothly for him.
No, the sources definitely called it a tale of 2 outings. He gave it that first Ohtani homer early, only the 4th homer he allowed all year. But then in the 6th, he seemed to get rattled, or the game sped up on him.
That's when the Dodgers mounted their comeback.
Exactly. A block was called on him, allowed a run. He ended up giving up 4 runs just in that inning, 5 total for the night. A tough one for him.
Though the sources did mention his mental toughness to kind of battle through it, even if the results weren't there in the end.
Right. And on the other side, Tony Gonsolin for the Dodgers.
Right.
He's coming back from Tommy John surgery himself. Had a couple of rough outings just before this one, like an 8.00 ERA.
So expectations maybe weren't super high?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And his game one started rough, too. Gave up 3 solo homers in the first 3 innings. Judge, Wells, Grisham. The commentary noted he really struggled in that first inning after that home run. But he settled down. Amazingly, yes.
Yeah.
He then rattled off 3 perfect innings, no base runners. And the sources stressed how crucial that was. It kept the Dodgers in this game, kept them in striking distance. So another tale of 2 outings. Really shows how tough these lineups are.
Definitely. Did the sources look ahead at the other pitching matchups for the series?
They did. Saturday was projected to be Will Warren for the Yankees against Landon Knack for the Dodgers.
Warren.
Yeah, he's apparently looking like a legitimate big league starter. Really strong recent starts, 2.05 ERA, good underlying numbers, high strikeout to walk ratio, hasn't allowed a homer recently.
And Knack for the Dodgers.
His numbers weren't as impressive, 5.22 ERA. One source called him a sign of the woes for the Dodgers' rotation depth right now. Opponents were slugging high against him, though he did have a better start his last time out.
Okay, and Sunday's matchup.
Ryan Yarbrough for the Yankees against Yoshinobu Yamamoto for the Dodgers.
Yamamoto, the big signing.
Exactly. Yarbrough's been a former Dodger, actually, who the Yankees picked up. He's been a surprising weapon for them, pitching well in May, low velocity, but somehow gets results.
Weird profile. And Yamamoto.
He's an NLC young contender, sub 2.00 ERA, just dominant, especially against lefties. And interestingly, the sources noted his best start last year and his best postseason start both came against the Yankees.
Ooh, another layer of intrigue there. Okay, let's circle back to the Game 1 drama itself, that comeback. Can you walk us through how the sources describe the flow of that game?
Sure. So Yankees started with that blast-off, as one source put it. Judge's homer, 1-0.
Ohtani answers 1-1.
Right. Then the Yankees built that lead with more solo shots. Austin Wells in the second makes it 2-1. Trent Grisham in the second makes it 4-1 after an earlier run scored. Solo homers abound early on, is the phrase used.
And Goldschmidt added another?
Yep, in the third inning. Made it 5-2 Yankees. That was their 4th homer already. Really flexing that muscle as the #1 home run team in the Major League.
So Yankees cruising with a 5-2 lead heading into the middle innings. But then comes the 6th. And this is where, if you're a Yankee fan watching, that uh-oh feeling probably starts.
Exactly what the sources hinted at. It started, fittingly, with Ohtani's second homer. That made it 5-3.
Still a 2-run lead, but momentum shifting.
And the sources emphasized the Dodgers aren't stopping after the show home run. Will Smith followed with a base hit. Hernandez moved up. Then Freddie Freeman steps up.
And delivers again.
That huge RBI double. Sources called it big hits, saying he bites the Yankees again. That scored Hernandez, made it 5-4, runner on third.
Tying run 90 feet away.
And Andy Page has come through. RBI single. Andy PZ ties the game, one commentator exclaimed. That scored Smith, 5-5. And the source reminded us Pages has been on that absolute terror run, hitting .300 lately.
Incredible turnaround. And they took the lead right after.
They did. Bases got loaded, and Michael Conforto drew a walk, forced in a run. Suddenly, it's 6-5 Dodgers. Just like that, the lead was gone and reversed.
Wow. A total flip in one inning. Did they add on after that?
They did get some insurance later. Andy Pages again, another RBI single scoring Smith. And Freeman also scored on the same play. Hustling all the way, great slide. Sources praised it as nice piece of hitting by Andy PZ and great baseball all around for Freeman's effort.
So the final score ended up
8-5 Dodgers.
Yeah.
They took round one in this World Series rematch. And yeah, that comeback felt, well, familiar.
And the sources explicitly made that connection, didn't they? Back to last October.
Oh, absolutely. One source put it perfectly. For Yankee fans, sweating out a lead that suddenly disappears against the Dodgers has to bring back some nightmares of last October.
Which loops right back to that whole narrative we started with, the focus on the Yankees' defense being the reason they lost the World Series.
Exactly. The sources kept mentioning the embarrassing errors in the field from last year.
Yeah.
And this idea that the Dodgers scouting report was basically just wait for the Yankees to get in their own way.
And they recalled some specific errors from that Game 5 collapse.
Yeah, they did. Aaron Judge dropping that routine fly ball, a can of corn. Apparently his first error in almost 2,000 innings. Anthony Volpe making a throwing error. Even Jarrett Cole not covering first base on a play. Just a sequence of defensive mistakes.
But what's interesting is the sources also noted the Yankees' defense has actually been much better this year, right?
Significantly improved, statistically.
Yeah.
They jumped from 12th in defensive runs saved last year, way up to 5th in MLB this year. That's a big leap.
Any specific reasons mentioned?
Players like Max Fried himself leading the team in DRS. Getting Cody Bellinger was called a needed boost defensively. And Judge, specifically, his defensive metric in center field went from -9 last year to 0 this year, meaning he's been at least league average out there.
Okay, so definite improvement on paper, yet, despite all that.
Yet, in that crucial 6th inning of Game 1, Anthony Volpe made an error that contributed to the tying run scoring. And the sources jumped right on that parallel, highlighting how that poor Yankee defensive inning in Game 5 last year felt so similar to how the lead evaporated in this game.
Yeah.
It's like those ghosts of October are still kind of lurking, you know?
Definitely makes for compelling drama. The sources really captured that intensity.
Yeah, descriptions like World Series type feel today, great battle, heavyweights going toe-to-toe. You could feel the energy through the reports.
And the star power was undeniable. MVP winners shining, big plays.
It had it all. Interestingly, looking at the series overall, one source ventured a prediction.
Oh, yeah. What did they guess?
They predicted the Yankees would actually win 2 out of 3 games in the series.
Despite losing Game 1.
Right. Their reasoning was citing the Yankees' generally better pitching situation, even with injuries, and maybe a deeper offense compared to the Dodgers' recent struggles keeping runs off the board and their own pitching issues. The specific call was, LA wins Game 1, but Yankees take Saturday and Sunday.
Interesting. We'll have to see how that plays out. So, wrapping this deep dive up, what does it all mean? What are the core takeaways?
Well, we've definitely seen the immense star power, right? Judge and Ohtani trading homers immediately. We've felt the historical weight of this rematch, going back to last October's dramatic finish.
And the pitching challenges are undeniable for both teams, adding another layer of difficulty.
We saw the Yankees' early power surge in Game 1, looking like they might run away with it, followed by that dramatic, and yeah, for Yankee fans, probably uncomfortably familiar Dodgers comeback, driven by their own stars.
And it keeps coming back to defense, doesn't it? We saw how those past struggles from the World Series are still very much part of the conversation.
Even as the Yankees have measurably improved defensively this season, that one error in Game 1 just brought it all back to the forefront.
So it really leaves you with a provocative thought, I think. You look at the incredible offensive talent on both sides. You look at the significant pitching injuries affecting both teams. And you look at how defense played such a huge role last October, and arguably in the turning point of game 1 here.
Right.
Does it make you wonder if these high-stakes games between loaded teams with taxed pitching staffs are now decided less by who pitches better and more by simply who makes the fewest defensive mistakes when those powerful hitters inevitably put the ball in play?
It's a really interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something to definitely keep in mind as you watch the rest of this series. And maybe, just maybe, if these two powerhouses meet again down the road.